The debate really rages about whether it's okay to play Michael Jackson's music, to listen to it, to enjoy it after these allegations that he abused young children. Let's talk now about this to Charles Thomson, an investigative journalist who has researched the Michael Jackson accusation cases since 2005, whilst interviewing members of the defence team, including 3 members of the jurors during those trials. So, you know a lot about this, Charles, and I suppose it's fair to say that it's not new that accusations would come up against Michael Jackson. It's happened again and again. So why would these latest abuse claims change anything as regards his music?
Well, exactly. And also, these are not new claims. These men have been suing Michael Jackson's estate, trying to obtain hundreds of millions of dollars for the last 6 years. And during that court case, which has been ongoing for the last 6 years, there has been generated thousands of pages of court documents, which along the way have severely discredited these men. Both of them have repeatedly changed their stories since they came forward. Wade Robson has given at least 4 directly contradictory accounts of when he was supposedly first abused. In fact, Wade Robson was found in that lawsuit to have lied under oath so egregiously that the judge threw out his entire witness statement and said that no rational juror could ever believe his account.
But these guys were like 5 years old when this happened. Isn't there a sort of an argument to say that they might be a bit confused and their memories might be a bit confused?
No, it goes beyond that. For example, he was forced as part of this lawsuit to release as evidence all of his emails. And those emails revealed that, firstly, that while he was constructing his lawsuit, he was researching other people's allegations about Michael Jackson and emailing them to himself. And also that he found one old tabloid story about him, and he emailed it to his mother. And he said, "Do you remember any of this? Is any of this true?" His mother replied to that email and said, verbatim, said, "Wow, none of this is true." And then Wade Robson included the story in his account anyway. So there is significant evidence that these guys are not telling the truth. And as I say, we're not talking about stories that are changing over decades. We're talking about somebody who's come forward quite recently, within the last couple of years, and consistently changes their story. And the same is true of the other accuser.
Charles, this case is ongoing, isn't it, in America at the moment? When does it conclude? When will we know? Because all this evidence will be weighed up and balanced and looked at, won't it?
Well, both of these men have had their lawsuit thrown out of court twice already, but they're in the middle of an appeal. And it's important to note that the TV show, Leaving Neverland, it omits all of this information. It doesn't. It's 4 hours long at its original running time, and at no point in the 4 hours does it find even 5 seconds to tell you that these men are suing Michael Jackson's estate for hundreds of millions of dollars. The director, his name is Dan Reed, and he's given numerous interviews where he has admitted that the documentary is extremely one-sided, that he decided only to tell these men's stories, not to investigate their allegations, not to look at any kind of oppositional stance, including, in the documentary, these men, particularly Wade Robson, name other boys who they say were groomed to replace them. And these boys are now men, and they absolutely refute that. One of them is now considering suing the filmmakers. He's made an announcement that he's going to sue. And they say, we were given absolutely no right of reply, and what you've said about us in the documentary is not true.
It's interesting though, Charles, isn't it? Because whether you believe these latest accusations or not, they do come with a history, as I know that you've been researching. Do you think Michael Jackson's reputation is tarnished to the point where we shouldn't be playing his music on BBC Radio Kent? Should we follow suit, BBC Radio 2?
No, we live in a civilized society with a justice system. We believe in a jury system, and if we don't believe in a jury system, then we live in anarchy. Michael Jackson was scrutinized in a 5-month public trial that almost killed him, and eventually really did kill him, the trauma from that trial. And he was completely exonerated by an impartial jury. During that trial, they brought in allegations of the Geordie Chandler case as 1108 prior bad acts evidence. He was acquitted. These two men do not have credible allegations. Their allegations don't hold up to scrutiny. There is ample public record information which undermines them. We do not assume guilt without proof, without
Very clear.
Beyond reasonable doubt.
Indeed. Charles, good to talk to you this morning. Thank you. Charles Thomson there, who is an investigative journalist and has been looking at this for a long time, looking at all the evidence since 2005. Really interesting in the light of what he just said, that BBC Radio 2 have said they're going to ban Michael Jackson's music. And here's their statement. We don't ban songs or artists, and Michael Jackson, like any other artist, could be played on BBC Radio 2, as we've said. We consider each piece of music on its merits and decisions on what we play on different networks. Those decisions are always made with relevant audiences and context in mind. So they're very much shying away in what they've said, if you see what I mean.
And if you had to be, my goodness, I mean, that interview was powerful stuff, because I've watched some of the sort of preamble interviews of this documentary that's coming up, and you listen to the two guys and you think this is horrendous what they went through. And we've had enough of not believing victims when they've come forward. We've seen time and time again over the years how people have just been written off as fantasists and the like. And then you hear his story and you think, my goodness, I mean, this is what a courtroom does, isn't it? I've sat in many from a journalistic perspective, and you hear the prosecution, you think, well, there's no point in the defence guy coming in here because it's all done. And then suddenly a defence lawyer turns up and you think, wow, actually, oh, right. And that's the fabric of our law. So he's thrown a whole new light on it for me. In terms of who radio stations play and don't play, I mean, where do you go? Is there, if there's a rock band that it turns out, one of the members of once, had an affair with a 13-year-old or something, do you stop playing those tracks forevermore?
I think it's a really interesting question. Is it the art or the artist, if you see what I mean? Is the art tainted by anything the artist does?
That's extraordinary.
Do we not read books by people who we know were nefarious characters? And do we not enjoy music? And we are a radio station. We have to make these decisions. So we'd like to know what you think.
The MJCast.